People have been asking, they seen on the videos, I like to have a fire to make a sandwich, or sometimes just to get warmed up on them cold windy days. And so I wanted to show you how I make a fire even when it's wet. So it's winter up here now, but it rained last night, so everything in the woods is wet. It's kind of starting to clear, but so I'm going to show you what I do. I try to look for a place that's got softwood limbs, you know, spruce and fir. Get in the spruce and fir, try to find some birch bark, and that's how I get started and kind of find a place to go. So I'll show you here what's going on. So there's some birch bark right here, and then down underneath in these spruce and fir we're going to get some dead limbs after. So let's get the birch bark first, and we'll make a place to start from. You can see when you pull the birch bark off, it's wet on the outside a little bit, but it's dry underneath, and it's got some kind of a, I don't know, weather protector in the birch bark, so it doesn't soak up water. Sometimes you're not in an area where there's a lot of birch bark, but maybe if you're thinking about having a fire and you happen to go by a birch tree, just grab some and stick it in your pocket, and you'll have it for later, or carry it in your pack, or whatever. I stomped down the snow in a little place, and of course in the fall there might not be as much snow, but I pack it down to the ground to kick it out of the way so you don't have snow melt in your fire when you're trying to get it going. So I got my birch bark ready. Next I'll break off some spruce and fir limbs. So in this particular spot there's not a lot of spruce. I like spruce better because they got a lot more fine limbs out at the end, but fir is fine. So I got some fir limbs here, and we're going to break off a bunch of those to start with. You got to start with the real small tips and get a whole little bundle of those, and then you get a little bit bigger and a little bigger, and you just stagger it up. I'll show you. These have got a little bit of needles left on them. Hasn't been dead too long. Just going to snap a bunch of this stuff off and get that ready. Okay, I'll get my in my pack I carried my little fire starter kit all the time. In that I've got a torch, lighter, waterproof matches, military style, and a Bic type lighter, which I use most of the time because it's quick and easy. The other ones, if it's you know, if it was real wet and I needed more, the torch one will work. But what I wanted to show you first is I got some birch bark in here, but I wanted to show you how, just like I said, even though everything's wet in here and it rained all night, you can take these real fine limbs, and when I was a kid we used to have to do with wooden matches. That's all we had. And you can get these, get a little wind in here, you hold your lighter or your match up under this bunch of sticks here, fine limbs. Maybe give it a little air and let that get going. It actually dries, the inside dries out as you go. You know, once you get a little bit going. Like I said, sometimes it depends how wet it is. And again, these fir needles, the fir boughs, they don't work as good as spruce. I think they might absorb more water than the spruce limbs do, but have way better luck with the little spruce ones. That's why I said if you've got birch bark, it's going to be a lot quicker and easier just to use your birch bark. I'll put this under here, and that's going to get my birch bark started. If you use quite a bit of birch bark, it'll get going long enough to dry things out. Might have to nurse it along a little bit, but it's easy. It'll come. And then I got some more finer limbs here. I put them aside. We'll put these on first once we get the birch bark lid off good. And again, remember, everything's wet, or if it's a dry day and you're trying to make a fire, it doesn't take any time. Everything's dry, you snap the stuff off. But these spruce and fir limbs, if you got cedar, it's good too, but they don't absorb the water if they're standing. And next we're going to get some bigger limbs and just progressively get bigger. We're going to get some smoke from these because it's drying out the outside a little bit, so we've got a mixture of smoke and steam and fire here. I always try to make them where I got some other sticks pretty handy, so I don't have to drag wood very far to begin with, and get everything lit up from the beginning. You can see when you snap those how dry they are inside. If I get into some bigger stuff, I'll put the whole thing across the fire and let it, if I can't snap it off, I just let it burn in half, and then it's dried out and it'll go in the fire good. Kind of nice even when it's real cold. Plenty of heat. As soon as you get it going, your fingers will start warming up and start feeling good about it. Got a little wind blowing here is going to help it feed the flame, gives it some oxygen, feed the flame pretty good. Once you get something going like this, you can put a little bit bigger on, a little bit bigger. As big as stuff as you can find around. The other tip I'll give you is anything that's laying horizontal, if it's a blowdown that's sideways, don't bother with it. It's wet. Anything sideways is going to be wet inside. Find anything that's standing up. Dead standing spruce and fir, could be a maple mixed in. break them off, break them up. Sometimes you stick them between two trees and break them. Like I said, just lay them in the fire, let them burn in half, then put the other halves in, and just keep kind of feeding it from the outside. Depends how big of a fire you want. You don't want it very big, but once you get a good bed of coals going, it'll dry the wood out better, make a nice bed of coals to toast your sandwich in or whatever. You know, maybe you want a fire for a half an hour, or maybe you want one for 10 minutes just to take the chill off. But either way, that's how you get one going.